Hello, and welcome to the After Bedtime podcast. My name is HP Burrito, and I'll be your host today. In today's episode, I want to talk kind of about the state of our country and where we're going to. And because I was watching an episode of Star Trek the other day, and it kind of got me to thinking of the state of our country and where we're going to. And the episode that I watched itself is actually Star Trek DS9. Episode is called Past Tense, Part 1. It's a two-part episode, but we're going to mainly focus on Part 1 with today's findings. Okay, in the episode, what happens is Commander Sisko, Jadzia Dax, and Dr. Bashir all get transported back into time to the year 2024. Now, put a pin in that. The reason why that's interesting to me is, and then pausing real quick about that, is the fact that right now we're in the year 2020. So this is prospectively for us happening 4 years in the future. And what's going on in the episode kind of has me worried about the way we're going towards that right now. So let's get back to the episode. All right, unpin. All right. So what's going on in the episode is that they go back to, like I said, 2024, back in the past, our future, in this episode. And they go to San Francisco, and they find out there's these sanctuary districts all over the country in all the major cities. But we're focusing on one in San Francisco. And what the sanctuary districts was an area in the city with huge walls built around it, kind of almost like a mock prison. And they were just sending poor people there who had no jobs, and people who were like mentally ill that needed help. And that part is the most sad. Instead of going to a hospital and getting the help they need with medication, they were just ignored and put into these sanctuary districts. And one thing to know is that criminals were not allowed to be in these sanctuary districts, but the people were treated as criminals just because they were in there. And these people were promised help to find jobs, and they were told this and that by the government, and then the government just totally ignores them, and the people just ignore what's going on there, because people who are working and are of the upper class ignore those poor people. And that's kind of how it is now. We have poor people now, and we're just ignored by the upper class. It's kind of like that Ice-T song, No Lives Matter. The upper rich people don't really care about the poor people and don't ever pay them any mind. And it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. As long as you don't see the poor people, you don't deal with the poor people. And that's kind of, in this episode, what they've done to a more extreme degree. Now, in the episode, we did see a brief scene where the commander and the doctor were being processed and checked into the district once they were found when they awoken in the past, in the year 2024 for them. And when the police officer guy gave them the form, he asked them if they needed an interpreter, if they couldn't read it, they didn't understand English. And he also said if they can't read, that someone will give them the questions orally. And as time progresses in the episode, it's evident that people are not happy in these districts, and the citizens start talking about having some kind of a demonstration and a protest until they get heard to shut down these districts, because they don't want to live there like that. These people are not criminals. They're just regular people who had a tough break. They've lost their jobs for some reason or the other. And in the episode, when a riot gets ensued, and they take a couple guards and government workers as hostages. And the Bell Riots, which was called because one of the citizens tried to protect them, ends up dying by the government sending in a SWAT team tactical force to come in there and take him over because they thought that all the hostages were killed already. Okay, and that's pretty much how the episode for part 1 starts off with. And then the reason why this made me think of where we're going at now is pretty much how they're saying that everybody that was put in these camps or these districts were because they were unemployed for the most part. And they had slang terms for different kinds of people. They had a slang for gimmies, for people who could work but didn't have no job. They had dims for people who were, kind of the mentally challenged people. They were called dims. And then there were also people called ghosts, people who just couldn't allocate into the system and just kind of caused trouble for everybody. And as you watch the episode itself, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the reason this episode made me think about today in the year 2020 is how because of the coronavirus we have all this unemployment, and it's just absolutely insane. I went to a website for the www.bls.gov, and that is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And on this website, they have a graph that shows you the current unemployment rate, the historical high and historical low unemployment rates of every state in the country. And what I found interesting was that there was 2 states that right now, as we speak at this very moment in time, the unemployment rate right now is the actual high. So we have record-breaking high unemployment rates in Massachusetts with 17.4 and New Jersey with 16.6. Another crazy thing that I saw was there was a lot of other highs that were set this year also. Most of them and the majority of it was in April. And if you think back of April 2020, what was going on was the height of the coronavirus. Everybody was pretty much laid off, which is why we have the most historical high there. And most people right now, they don't want to go back to work because of their either fears or they're getting unemployment checks that are record highs also. People are getting $600 a week in unemployment. That's $2,400 a month. That's more than most people were making as they were working. So that right there is kind of shocking. People don't want to go to work because they're making so much money just staying home doing nothing. And it's just the way that this, I fear that this is leading us into, is to a society of gimme, gimme, gimme. And these people that they want the government to gimme the money, and that way they can do what they want. They want the handout. And the sad thing is that's not what this country was based on. And I fear that if we continue going down this path where the government keeps paying us with these stimulus checks and everything else, that we're not going to want to go back to work. And then, people who don't want to go to work and want these handouts might end up getting put into these sanctuary districts, as per the episode. They get rounded up and we put them, all right, we're going to put you guys over here, and then everybody else can stay over here. And then the whole problem is going to perpetuate. And what if we're going to this right here? What if right now, as a society in this country, we're going to this episode, and we're going to make it a reality? This episode was made back in the mid-1990s, and they already saw this happening, and we're foreshadowing it. And it blew my mind when I watched it, and when I realized it was, because I've seen this episode before. I've seen this episode more than once, but I've never made that connection until this year, because of what's going on this year, 4 years out, and we can see where we're going to be heading towards, and it scares me. I don't know. It's just my thoughts of a situation that we got going on, and I want to hear your thoughts as always. That's the whole point of the podcast, is to have me ramble on about what I saw, what I'm thinking, and have you guys put in your 2 cents in the comment section. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've seen this episode or if you haven't seen this episode. If you have Netflix, you can watch this episode. The Star Trek Deep Space Nine is on Netflix. Again, the episode is called Past Tense. But anyway, that's it for me today, guys. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button with all the notification bells on. And we'll see you guys next time after bedtime. Good night, everyone.